the president's gun control plan. They say it goes way too far, and they insist it tramples on the U.S. Constitution. Joining us now from Austin, Texas, Republican State Representative Steve Toth. Representative, thanks very much for joining us. We're intrigued because you proposed legislation that would make it illegal in Texas for anyone to enforce a federal ban, shall we say, on assault weapons or high-capacity magazines. Here's the question. If the federal government, if the House and the Senate pass this legislation that the president is asking for, he signs it into law, everyone in the United States would have to obey the law. How would you avoid obeying the law?
In Texas, we're going to do everything we can, Wolf, and first off, thanks for having me on. We're going to do everything we can to call people back to the belief and the understanding that we're a constitutional republic, and that our rights do not come from Congress. Our rights come from God and are enumerated in the Constitution. What they're proposing, and here's what I really want to stress, he said that we will be judged. Our generation will be judged based on how we deal with this. Cotton candy political solutions aren't going to fix this problem.
But the Congress, by the Constitution, is given the authority to pass legislation, to create the laws, to make the laws. And once again, if they pass this legislation, I'm not sure they will pass the legislation, but let's say they do pass the legislation banning the military-type assault weapons, the high ammunition clips, universal background checks for anyone buying a gun, whether at a gun show or online or from a private individual. If that is the law of the land, that's the Constitution, right? You got to obey the law of the land.
Let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever, he used the expression weapons designed for the theater of war. What we're talking about here is not an M16 that's used over in Iraq or Afghanistan. That is not what we're talking about here. What he's talking about banning are weapons that are used in less than 0.1% of all gun crimes. These are nothing more than semi-automatic hunting rifles that look like M16s. They are not M16s. Wolf, have you ever held one of these things in your hand and fired one?
Well, I understand what you're saying, but the question I'm asking, and I'm not getting a direct answer, Representative, excuse me. The specific question, if it's passed by Congress, and once again, I don't know if the Congress will pass it, but if it's passed by Congress, every U.S. citizen has to obey the law. What you're proposing is that people in Texas,
we will do everything we can in the state of Texas.
But I just want to make sure you're law-abiding citizens in Texas.
We will do everything we can in this. We will do everything in the state of Texas to ensure that as Texas we follow the United States Constitution. And if this government infringes on our Second Amendment right, which gives us the right not only to bear arms, but tells the government, the federal government, not to create any laws that infringes on those rights, we will do everything we can to push back against that.
Does that mean, maybe I'm jumping too far, but does that mean seceding from the Union? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, that's not what we're talking about here. And I'm pretty sure that that's not what this discussion is about.
I just wanted to be precise. That's not what you were calling for. What you're saying is you will try to skirt around a federal law, but within the law.
Wolf, let me just share something with you real quick. I was born in New York, upstate New York, 20 miles south of Webster, New York, where a few weeks ago, a mentally deranged man, a killer, a man that beat his mother to death with a hammer. He beat her to death with a hammer so badly that the coroner couldn't recognize her. The guy was found guilty of first-degree murder, sent to jail. And the state of New York allowed this animal back out on the streets again to kill again. He illegally got a hold of a gun, set his house on fire, and when firemen arrived, he shot 2 of them dead. All of the situations that the president enumerated in his speech have nothing to do with even his legislation. If we want to get serious about limiting violent crime in America, we've got to look at mental health issues, and we've got to look at punishing people that commit crimes. And when they commit violent crimes, they've got to go to jail and stay in jail. Let's get serious
I-
about this. Anything
Well, I
other
don't
than
think
that is
anyone,
just a
I
joke.
don't think anyone disagrees with you on that
But the
last
president's
point.
not a- the president's not a-
violent
Wolf,
crime. I think everybody agrees if you commit a violent crime, you should go to jail and stay in jail. And the president, in one of his
We
recommendations,
don't agree on it. We don't agree on it because if the president was really serious about it, he wouldn't have taken 90% of his time talking about military, quote-unquote, military-style assault rifles. He would have spent all of his time addressing the issue of the fact that these weapons account for less than 0.5% of crimes. Less than 0.5%. Let's deal with the real issues. The recidivism rate, people that get out of jail and go and kill again. The ability of people to get a hold of these weapons. Republicans have been calling for years.
Well, let me ask you this
instant
question,
background
Representative.
checks. Instant background checks.
Do you
And this
want
government's done nothing to help us with
universal?
that.
Do you want universal background checks on all gun transactions in the United States, as the president is
No,
proposing?
I don't.
Why?
No, I don't. At gun shows online, we've got the technology online.
Well, what if some crazy guy that you
if I
just
wanna sell
described
it-
in upstate New
if I
York
wanna
wants
sell
to go to a gun show, he
I'll
could go
answer-
buy a gun?
Wolf, that'd be first off, that hasn't happened. If you look at that guy in upstate New York, he stole his gun. These people
But he
don't
could,
go
but
to gun
technically, if there's
shows.
no background check,
It
if he's
has-
got a criminal record, he can go to a gun show or he can buy a gun without a background check. Technically, that's obviously possible.
Let's quit dealing with a hypothetical though, and let's start dealing with reality, Wolf. That hasn't happened.
There are a lot of
That
people who
hasn't
go out to
happened.
gun shows. People can buy guns at gun shows or
those are
for private
law-abiding
individuals
citizens, Wolf.
well, there are a
Show
lot of
me
them
one
that aren't.
crime.
Unfortunately, there aren't a whole lot of.
Wolf.
There's plenty who aren't representative. Right now, you can be on the no-fly list. You're not allowed to board a plane, but you can go to a gun show and buy a gun. Is there a contradiction there?
Wolf, show me one time one of these criminals has gone to a gun show and gone and committed a crime. I'm listening. I'm all ears. Let's deal with reality.
Hey, Representative Steve Toth, state representative from Texas.